Wow. All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Great to have everybody here. Boy, we're in for a treat today. One of the top rising stars at ESPN, a former national champion quarterback for Nick Saban, one of the greatest high school quarterbacks to ever play in the state of Texas. Greg McElroy is going to blow everybody away today. He's really one of my favorites over the last few years as he continues his climb to be right behind Kirk Herbstreit as the top ESPN analyst for college football. I thought, did you enjoy Jimbo Fisher last week? I thought he was very good. I think a lot of people got a lot of comments that they thought, it's not maybe what I was thinking Jimbo would be like. So thank you for being here. So I don't know who, Greg, what we do, we give away these amazing, what do you call pop-ups? Pop-ups. So, Greg, do you know what game this is? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it's Auburn 2010. We lost because we gave them a 24-point lead.
Oh, we gave it. That was Cam Newton, right? Yes. So maybe there's an Alabama fan here, or that on the days when Alabama does play Arkansas, you can throw darts at this. Either one. But the winner is 041336. 041336. We appreciate you doing this, and Rockstar passes for creating these each week. 041336. Do we have a winner? There we go. Winner right there. We'll have this to you, and you can have it in your bedroom or living room, whatever you want to do. This is week 6 of the Touchdown Club, our 20th anniversary. What a year it's been. Sam Pittman, Brett Favre, Ray Lewis, Eric Dickerson, Hunter Yurachek, Jimbo Fisher, Greg McElroy today. Speaking of another analyst, Dan Mullen next weekend, former head coach at Mississippi State in Florida. And I think was it not last week, all my weeks run together, the announcement about Brett Favre and his Parkinson's?
Yeah, last week.
So, Greg, we had Brett in this year. Did anybody notice maybe something physically? I sort of noticed it when I was up there. I didn't know what it was. I just sort of picked up on something, and he was so kind. So, Greg, he holds the record for getting pictures. You will do this after the banquet, the meeting here today, taking pictures with everybody. And after a while, he said, I got to sit down. And then he would try to get back up, and he said, I got to sit down again. So anyway, we're thinking about him and with his battle against Parkinson's, and I know everybody here appreciated him taking the time to come and be a part of our Touchdown Club in our 20th season. So as I mentioned, Dan Mullen next week. Don't forget, love to have you for that. Hopefully we'll be talking about a big Razorback upset of Tennessee. Before we bring up Pigskin, one of the things being from Florida, Panama City, I wish I'd have done a better job at. I've tried to do it over the years, is that I believe, and in this world, Greg, of transactional football, college football, and I'm going to play here for this amount of money, I'm going to transfer. I see value in coming and being a part of a program like you did at Alabama for 4 or 5 years at Arkansas. And so for me, I stand on the shoulders of all the great guys here in the room that play for Arkansas, and all the greats before me in the 50s and 60s. And we lost a great Razorback, Dr. Jim Cawthron, who was a dentist from the 50s. Good-looking guy, Greg, oh my gosh. He had 2 daughters that were majorettes when I played back in the 80s. But he didn't have to. He sort of took me under his wing and was always super nice to me, and told me the stories about Wilson Matthews. True story. Apparently Wilson Matthews is the person on the Broyles Award trophy. Coach Broyles could have picked anybody to be on the trophy with him. Barry Switzer, Hayden Fry, Johnny Majors, Joe Gibbs. But he picked Wilson Matthews, who was a high school coach. And I think Rex, they were going up. They played in Memphis because you remember they played all over the country because they were so good at Central High School. They didn't play well, and some of the guys were running their mouths. So Wilson Matthews pulled the bus over, according to Dr. Jim Cawthron, and he pulled out a belt and started whipping each one, getting in line. And can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore. But anyway, love Dr. Jim Cawthron, and he died at age 92. I was so blessed. I was on the way down to Arlington for the game, and his daughter Perry Gay told me, so they just put him in the hospice. It was just wonderful timing for me to go by and just say goodbye to him. And I didn't know if he could hear me or not, but he's 92 years old. I just said, Doc, because he was a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking guy back in the 50s. He looked like Burt Reynolds. And I said, even at 92, Doc, you have great hair, great beard, and just reminded me of the value, Greg, of the men who played before us, that we think we're so special because we're in this generation or whatever, but we're all standing on the guys of Wallace Wade and all those greats at Alabama that you stood on the shoulders of. And anyway, just wanted to give a shout out to the Cawthron family and how special Jim was for me. Pigskin, who is our official minister of the Touchdown Club, Pinnacle Church of Christ, will you come up and lead us in a word of prayer?
Before we pray, just a personal aside. As somebody that watches about 20 to 25 hours of college football and college football related content, you're about the best going, my man. Great to have you here. And it's not just because all those meatheads from Ohio State, you stand out above them, but you do. But when you see Galloway and Herb Street, tell them we needed an Alabama man in there. Good job, Greg. Let's pray together. Father in heaven, we're thankful for the occasion that brings us together. We're thankful for the health we enjoy, for the food we have, for the friends we're able to reconnect with. Father, we're thankful that Greg could be here taking time out of his schedule to share some thoughts with us today. And Father, as David has said, we're concerned about the Cawthron family, the loss that they've had. We pray that you give them peace, that you give them comfort and a sense of your presence in the days ahead. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Pigskin. So, Greg, one of the things, I look like I used to play nose guard, but everybody's so sick of me saying this, but I was a linebacker. So they saw me sweat so much up here because of my weight issue. I have a fan here. I have a fan. Eric Dickerson asked us to turn the fan off. He was so cold. But I see the fan's not working today. So, Rex, you and I are in big trouble. You and I are in big trouble. So, Chuck, you're right. So I'm going to just tell you, this guy to our left, I'm going to tell you, there's nobody, and so honored we've got Molly and Clayton Harrell, who are the Broyles Award. Greg is a Broyles Award voter. And I'm just telling you, this guy right here, the reason why he is one, thank you, RJ. The reason why he's one of the best, nobody does more prep. Nobody watches more film per week. I can promise you. We've had Kirk Herbstreit here, and I love Kirk. Nobody does more prep than this guy right here. He loves it. He eats it up. He's got a family with 3 kids and all that, but he watches films throughout the week. I think he's seen about every play of the Razorbacks, and so we're really fortunate to have him here today, and I can't wait to hear what he's got to say about college football in general. It was a great weekend. Do you want to thank our sponsors real quick? We'll start with Simmons Bank. Nina Kest Alda. Is it Alda or Alda? Nina? Aldi, there you go. Nina's here with us today. Cole Plafkin, appreciate you guys being here. Greg, we wouldn't have the Touchdown Club if not for Simmons Bank and their amazing sponsorship. We appreciate you both. Don't forget the Simmons Bank Championship presented by Stevens, Pleasant Valley Country Club, October 24th through the 27th. It's a big deal. Get out and support them. We cannot do it without Simmons, and if you're looking for a new banking partner, go to them for more the support that they will give you. Stevens, we appreciate them as well. You got the Jackson T. Stevens Cup Rex just before the Simmons Bank Championship. They're a sponsor of that, thanks to Simmons. Oaklawn Hot Springs, Rex is bragging the fact that he's hit 28 in a row on his picks. 33 and 0. Now, let it be said now, you're not picking the spreads. You just pick it straight up, and I love the fact that you're picking Division II games. I love that. But if you haven't downloaded the Oaklawn app, do that today. You don't have to listen to any of my picks, although I'm pretty good on college. 62%, not so much on the NFL. It's been a crazy year, but thank you to Oaklawn Hot Springs, Wayne Smith, Zach Gillum, and Chris Ho. Right, Lindsay and Jenny, great to see Judy Henry here. 124 years of experience. And all the things, an unbelievable law firm that's one of the best in America. If you want to get in the NIL game, they're the folks that can help you. If you want to sponsor an athlete, Judy and her staff can be the ones that navigate you through this craziness that is NIL. So thanks to Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings also for their sponsorship of the Cliff Harris Award. Crane Automotive, the largest dealer automotive group in Arkansas, 20 dealerships, 1,000 employees. They're on track to sell 24,000 cars this year. Crane team's got them. Christian Crane, Chris Crane, we appreciate their amazing support of the Touchdown Club. Sissy's Log Cabin, been around 50 years. I don't think Jim Englehorn and Bill and Sherry Jones are here, but here's the thing, Greg. Last year, we had Alyssa Lang and Laura Rutledge. So Sissy's decided to give them some David Yurman bracelets. So I think we've got a picture. So Jim Engelhorn was watching Laura Rutledge at the Alabama-Georgia game. Do we have that, Anita? Do we have that yet? No? And by the way, Dwayne, can you close that door back there if you don't mind, buddy? We don't have it, or we do? Maybe not. So Jim's watching the broadcast, and he sees the Laura Rutledge, David Yurman bracelet on there. So I don't know if don't we get in trouble if we don't do things for the other sex? Right? No? Do we not need to do something for the guys? No? Okay, but anyway, so thank you to, I'm just asking. Oh, there it is, look. There it is. So apparently she's wearing that with pride, and we just may need to work with sissies on something, or Greg can either give it to his wife, or it can have it himself. How about, you wear jewelry, Greg?
Yeah, but a bangle would be kind of tough.
Thanks to Sissy's Log Cabin. Double B, Steve Lytle, and Ed Light, we appreciate them. Family-owned convenience stores out of Searcy, 34 locations throughout Central Arkansas. Gas it, grab it, and go. We appreciate Double B's. Summerwood Sports, the amazing Hendricks family, David and Doug, and Junior, and Dexter, and Landon. We appreciate all of them at Summerwood Sports. Book anything you want to there. Practice sessions, training sessions, birthday parties. It's an amazing facility. Check it out. Roller Funeral Homes, Renata Jenkins Byler, 24 locations across the state. They will take great care of your family through a very difficult time. Thanks to Renata. Advantage Service Company, Kevin Brooks, our GM over here. One Call does it all. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, they do it all. 35 years in business with all licensed technicians. Thank you, Kevin. Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley got another great All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. Greg, when you hear this stat, when you hear what this kid did 2 weeks ago at quarterback, you did amazing things at South Lake Carroll. I mean, you've set records that have never been broken there. But I have a feeling that what this kid did 2 weeks ago, you didn't do. Now that's saying something, because you did some amazing things nationally. So wait till you hear that. And thank you to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette and their great sponsorships. Hatcher Agency, Twin City Limo, Greg Hatcher, couldn't do it without you. The home of outrageous service. Behind the scenes, Greg does so much for our touchdown club. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Popeye. Simmons Bank Arena. Rex, there's a big announcement tomorrow at the arena. I don't know who's coming. We got Jelly Roll October 22nd. Ringling Brothers October 19th and 20th. Justin Moore, who does our show January 18th. The Globetrotters. They act like it's bigger than that. I don't know who it is, but be listening tomorrow morning. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichard, thank you guys for your great support. Appreciate it, brother. Also, War Memorial Stadium. John Latch, if you want to do a really cool event over at War Memorial, make sure and call him and line that up. Great games being played over there each week. Arkansas Urology, I want to congratulate all the guys who got tested. This past week, it's the 20th annual kickoff to Men's Health. A lot of men saved their lives over the last month. A lot of men saved their lives by going and getting tested. I think they had record numbers of free screenings that they did. So well done, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys doing that. And thanks to Arkansas Urology. 103.7 The Buzz. I appreciate my buddy Roger Scott out here always supporting me and all this crazy stuff that I do. And Justin Moore and Terry Mahan, Justin Akery, DJ Williams. And you played against DJ Williams in that great game in Fayetteville. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Heather Baker, AY Media, AY Magazine, Arkansas Money and Politics. Thanks so much for your support, Heather, as always. Arkansas PBS, Courtney Pleasure, Tanisha, Anita, Brian, and Kevin, thank you so much for the great job that you guys get a lot of positive comments about the way this looks every week. DoubleTree Hotel, thanks for all the work that our staff does, Lakia and all the other folks here, Angel and everybody else, thank you. And last but not least, on our sponsor, Alicia Dover Flynn, who handles all our social media. Here's Alicia over there. So I don't know if you guys know, but last week they all run together. Last week was Jimbo Fisher. So every week when we post what people say up here, a €100 check got 1.1 million, 1.1 million views. Brett Favre, 1.5 million views. Those are the kind of things that, thanks to Alicia, that we're doing, that when we post the things, and I'm sure Greg's going to say something so amazing today that it will get 1 million views, no pressure or anything. But anyway, thanks to Alicia and her good work with JF Media and Marketing. Let's give a round of applause to all those great sponsors. We've got the best in America, Greg. Our great Touchdown Club team, Dwayne Duncan taking pictures for over a decade. Chris Kane, R.J. Hulk up here at the head table doing great work for the Touchdown Club. Wes Sutton. We got the best volunteer team all the way in the back. All you volunteers, all you ladies and guys, we can't do this Touchdown Club without you. Hope you guys really know that it's the truth, led by Debbie Wyman. Let's give all of our volunteers a great round of applause. So without further ado, we got the fan going, Rex. You're saved. You don't have to sweat as much. Here we go. Let's get up for Rex Nelson, everybody, for our weekend recap. No, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Oh, me first?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll let you go
Gotcha,
first.
gotcha. Just making sure we weren't out of order. Making sure, you know, Greg, what Bass was trying to say with that 1.5 million views, we can ruin your career with one misstep. So be careful. I do pick all the Division I, all the Division II games in Arkansas every week, and yes, I am 33-0 straight up, and I wish I weren't, because I picked Texas A&M, went with my head and stood in my heart. But you know, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette headline said it all yesterday. What did you expect? I mean, the curse of the Southwest Classic. It is absolutely cursed, right, David? You've been down there every year, and I'm sorry, Jerry Jones, but thank God it's over. And we go back to campus again. Texas A&M 21, Arkansas 17, 3 critical Razorback turnovers, and the 12th loss in the last 13 games against the Aggies. A&M won 8 of the 9 games played in Arlington since joining the SEC. And I hate to give this one, but the Razorbacks, do you realize they have not started 2-0 in SEC play since 2006, 18 years ago. All right, I'm moving on. UCA moves to 4-1 with a 34-14 win over a ranked Lamar team in Conway. UCA outgained Lamar 439-220. In the fourth quarter, UCA outgained Lamar, get this, 118-18 to put that game away. 2 different FCS polls, the Bears are now up to number 5 in the country in one and number 7 in the other. Meanwhile, Harding still number 1 in Division II. Is it not nice in a small state like this to have a top 10 team in both FCS and Division II? Top 5 if you take that one poll. Both. And I'm telling you folks, I'm just saying it now, Harding can't be stopped. Consider this. Henderson rolled into Searcy with a 3-0 record. They were ranked number 20 in the country. Final score, Harding 66, Henderson nothing. Blake Dela Cruz, Braden Jay combined for 7 first-half touchdowns for the defending national champions. That's 23 wins in a row for Harding. That breaks the Arkansas collegiate record. As you know, Arkansas had that 22-game streak from 1963 to 1965. It was 28-0 after the first quarter and 49-0 at halftime. And get this, this again was against a Henderson team that had won 6 of the previous 7 games in Searcy. Well, the Bisons took out a lot of frustration. Ouachita is also 4-0, 49-14 win over UAM. Tigers led 35-7 at the half of that one and coasted from there. In its past 70 games in the GAC, past 70 conference games, Ouachita's record is now 64-6. So, if you're wondering, evening of October 19th, Harding at Ouachita. Evening of October 19th will be the biggest Division II game in the country to this point in the year, and you may want to put that on the calendar. SAU 38, Arkansas Tech 7. Mule Riders raced out to a 24-0 halftime lead and never looked back. So you've got Harding and Ouachita both 4-0, Southern Arkansas and Henderson both 3-1, Arkansas Tech and UAM both 2-2. Division III, Hendricks goes to 3-1, beating Huntington 31-28. Line falls to 1-3, losing to Texas Lutheran. Vern Lundquist's alma mater, one of our former speakers here, 49-0 in favor of Texas Lutheran. Now, back to the SEC. Greg, my timing was good. I finished doing the postgame show for Ouachita, got in the car, turned on XM radio in the car, and tuned in to the Alabama Sports Network as Bama tried to hang on to that 28-0 lead. They were up 1 touchdown. I heard the Georgia touchdown to put them ahead. I heard then the Alabama touchdown. You talk about the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And then on the interception that sealed the game, I thought on the radio somebody fell out of their chair. Luckily, I found the video. Tyler Watts, another former Alabama quarterback who's doing color, got up and threw his headsets, David, when they intercepted that pass. And that's what I'd heard on there. But boy, you talk about an instant classic. I know many of you were watching. Carson Beck completes that 67-yard pass to Dylan Bell. Extra point. It's good. It puts Georgia ahead on the first play after the kickoff. Then Jalen Milroe passes 75 yards to Ryan Williams, a freshman, to put Bama back on top. Then another freshman intercepts a Beck pass in the end zone to secure the victory. So the Tide is 4-0, 1-0 in conference. Georgia falls to 3-1, 1-1. How about Kentucky going into Oxford and upsetting Ole Miss? Didn't see that coming. 20-17 in favor of Kentucky. No love lost for the Rebels here. Or Lane Kiffin. The Rebels miss a 48-yard field goal attempt in the final minute that would have won it. They were a 15.5-point favorite in that game. They're 4-1 overall, 0-1 in the conference. Kentucky 3-2 and 1-2. LSU moves to 4-1, a 42-10 win over 2-3 South Alabama, which plays ASU this week. Garrett Nussmeier passed for 409 yards. That's a career high for him. At Texas, Arch Manning passes for 2 touchdowns. He runs for another. He was 26 of 31, 324 yards. Texas beats Mississippi State 35-13. And OU really struggling this year in their first year in the SEC. They have to rally from an 11-point fourth quarter deficit to win 27-21 at Auburn. They had a much harder time at Auburn than Arkansas did. OU is 4-1, 1-1 in the conference. Auburn falls to 2-3, 0-2 in conference, and maybe a little heat turning up on Hugh Freeze. Freeze is not quite as frozen right now. A little heat there. All right, this week, of course, Tennessee at Arkansas. What an opportunity for an upset. The ABC primetime game on Saturday night. The country will be watching 6:30 on ABC. You've also got Alabama at Vanderbilt, Auburn at Georgia, Central Florida at Florida, Ole Miss at South Carolina, and Missouri at Texas A&M. Here in the state, in addition to the Razorback game, we've got the conference opener for Arkansas State at South Alabama at ASU. We've got Southern Nazarene at Southern Arkansas and Oklahoma Baptist at Henderson. So no excuses, games in Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Magnolia, and Arkadelphia. So get out and see a college football game on Saturday, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. Now it's time for our All-Arkansas Prep Player of the Week. And I will tell you, you're going to hear a stat that we've never heard before, especially for a quarterback. RJ, will you come up and introduce our All-Arkansas Prep Player of the Week?
Thank you, David. Well, you know, our Player of the Week comes to us from Hackett. If you don't know where Hackett is, it's up by Greenwood. So he made the heck of a drive down here. But I was talking to him just a minute ago, and he said, I heard Greg McElroy was coming, so I wanted to one-up him in this game against Mountainburg. And so, first off, they won the game 47-0. And Bryson Hamilton, the quarterback, he was 6 of 9 passing for 127 yards and a touchdown. And you're like, okay, not bad numbers. But he had 8 carries for 307 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. But that's not even the most remarkable thing that he did in the game. Because in that game, he had a 96-yard run for a touchdown on 1 possession. And so then he gets the ball back the very next possession and goes 97 yards for another touchdown. And in that game, he had 434 yards of total offense and had 4 touchdowns. Today, he brought his mom, Tessa, and his grandma, Trish. Your All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week is Bryson Hamilton of Hackett.
Yeah, it's one thing to hear of one run of 90-plus yards, to have a second one and then have it back-to-back possessions, maybe one of the craziest stats I've ever heard. Before we bring Greg up, a couple acknowledgments here real quick. First of all, as you know, that Justin Moore does our radio show with Roger and I every morning. It's been 3 years, and you know Justin Moore, 12 #1 country music hits. He's got number 13 on the way. This Thursday night, he is performing at the AMP in Northwest Arkansas, Thursday of the Tennessee game, and he is committing all proceeds of his concert that night and merchandise to the Arkansas NIL. How about that? So, Lunsford, you know, our man Justin is trying to do his part. So, if you're in that area, if you're listening, or if you want to go up there, buy some tickets and help support Arkansas NIL. Also want to recognize Molly and Clayton Harrell, who are here today. Molly is the granddaughter of Frank Brules and obviously helps run the Brules Foundation, whose mission is to support Alzheimer's caregivers. She's doing an amazing job, and she puts on the Brules Award each year. And this year we're moving to Oaklawn, which is going to be really cool. It's going to be after the playoffs, which we've never done before. And her husband Clayton does the High School Brules Award. I don't know if you guys know this, but we hand out the top high school assistant coach in America every year as the High School Brules Award. I think, how many states now do we have, Clayton? 38 states will be coming into Arkansas, the winners, over at Oaklawn. And one of the reasons they're here is because Greg McElroy is one of our voters. These are the kind of voters we need, guys like Greg who are really locked in, who really know what's going on and know these assistant coaches. So please let's welcome Molly and Clayton, if you will, everybody. And you guys know that I'm a mama's boy. I guess I am. And so, Emma, I don't know. Today is my mom's birthday. You heard me mention on the radio this morning. She is 79 years old. She doesn't mind. Come on in, Lakia. She's 79 years old, and I want everybody, as Lakia and Angel bring in some desserts for her. Let's sing happy birthday to my mom, if you will. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Turn around and eat your cake. Mother, turn around behind you. She doesn't see. There you go. Hard to believe, Rex, 9 years ago, she blew out the wish. Yep. She blew out the candle, rather, made a wish there. Maybe that her son would eat less during the week. Maybe that's a... I'm kidding. Greg, I'm an only child. I couldn't have asked for a better mother on the planet. She's got a biggest heart is of the planet, and I am blessed. Greatest gift that God gave me besides his son is having a great mom and dad. So thank you, Mother. I love you and I appreciate it. Happy birthday. Yes. All right. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get to talk to Greg. So many places to go. He's got so much knowledge in his head, so much information we want to get to. So if we can, Anita, let's go ahead and see Steve Sullivan's introduction of Greg McElroy.
The Dragons back to pass, goes 17, looks, throws downfield. This one is going to be complete to number 80. Touchdown, Dragons!
This is Greg McElroy throwing a touchdown pass for Texas high school powerhouse Southlake Carroll during a state championship season. Then it was on to Alabama, where Greg earned the starting job as a junior, and it was a magical season.
Ingram, and from the pistol, McElroy's going to go deep, going for it all, and it's complete.
The Tide went 14-0 and gave Nick Saban his first national title at Alabama, and McElroy, who played with 2 cracked ribs, was MVP of the title game. In his senior season at Bama, McElroy set a school record with 2,987 passing yards. A seventh-round draft pick, McElroy made his NFL debut on December 2nd, 2012. He threw his first and only career touchdown pass in the fourth quarter of a 7-6 victory. Greg has knocked it out of the park as a broadcaster.
And who are teams that are maybe just on the cusp of getting into the point where they're playing their best football?
Please welcome a rising star in the broadcast industry, a national championship quarterback, Greg McElroy.
Well, Greg, really appreciate you coming. So just to put it in perspective what Greg has done, so Saturday you called the game between Ole Miss and Kentucky.
Yes.
And which was a great game, which takes a lot out of you. People don't realize that you get there early, you do your prep, and then you decide to drive from Oxford to Tuscaloosa with your son. How old is your son?
My son's 5.
And then he goes to the Georgia-Alabama game and watch that thing. And then that's Saturday night. Then he hops a plane from Birmingham to Atlanta, gets here last night, midnight, and with 3 kids. And he had a show already with Cole Kublik this morning from 7 to 10. So how about a round of applause for the effort for him just getting here today?
I appreciate y'all having me. It's a treat. A couple things. Had I known there was going to be 1.5 million viewers, I would have worn socks. In the basking in the glow of a Bama victory over Georgia, just conveniently forgot that one article of clothing. Could have been worse. It could have been pants, but we're here. And it's great to be here. Also, we couldn't find any high-definition footage of high school. That was not that long ago. 20 years. I mean, come on, what are we doing? So it's a treat to be in Arkansas. You guys are wonderful people. I've always had a lot of fun coming to this part of the country. And just so you know, all my friends, literally, all my friends went to Arkansas from high school. We had like a gigantic contingent, which is really smart kids too. It's Harvard, Yale, but they all chose Arkansas. And they love the Hogs so much, and that we grew up basically as Hog fans, so that we sang Sweet Home Alabama at my wedding. It was followed with probably 30 people calling the Hogs at my wedding. So it runs deep in this part of the country, and I really appreciate y'all having me. It's really a treat.
That's awesome. As a guy who won a national championship, of course, Greg won the first national championship for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And making that transition from Shula to Saban. So you went to that game. You played in a lot of great games. You've seen a lot of great games. Where does that? You called a great game between Kentucky and Ole Miss. That was a great one. But where does that one rank? That has to be one of the all-time greatest games you've ever seen.
It was incredible, man. And look, I'll just be honest with you. I try to see the game through a very neutral lens, because I know the next day I got to talk about it from a neutral perspective. But I said, this is the first game I've ever taken my 5-year-old to. I've never had this opportunity. Like, I'm going all in. Bama, head to toe. I even had a, Big Al, stitched on my belt. It was aggressive. It was a lot. Very obnoxious. I leaned in, all right? I leaned in, but I was just overcome with emotion. And how y'all do that as fans every week, I don't know. I was exhausted after the game. It's like the ebbs and flows, and my wife's like, you didn't smile one time when we were up 28-0. I was like, because I am prepared, as someone that has lost a 24-point lead in this stadium, I am prepared for this thing to come down to the wire. And sure enough, it did. But it was just an amazing game. And I think what's so funny about it is because we're so level-headed in the Southeast when it comes to football. And we take it all in stride. It's the first game in which there are segments of the fan base for both Alabama and Georgia that are thrilled. It's the first time that's ever happened, right? How often does Georgia lose a game and their fan base is fired up? Okay, well, we had them in the second half. I get it. And then there's also segments of the fan base that want to see not just Kirby Smart fired, but Kalen DeBoer should be fired for what happened in the second half of that football game. So I've felt it very much in the stands, and it was just an incredible game to be a part of and to share it with my son, who didn't have 1 ounce of clue what was going on, but we had chocolate ice cream. It was really, really exciting, man.
I do have to give credit to my buddy Roger Scott. So I don't know if you've seen the picture. Former President Trump was there up in the skybox, and then it was a cast of characters which Roger described as something out of the bar scene in Star Wars, with John Daly, Kid Rock, Tuberville, just the whole group.
Yeah.
So I was mentioning that, how crazy that was, because, you know, John and I went to school together, and you had a funny perspective that you saw John, Kid Rock, and Hank Williams. Yeah. What were they doing?
Yeah, so I'm sitting up there in the same level as they were. President Trump was on the other side of the stadium, so we probably saw him a quarter and a half before they bar hopped / sweet hopped all the way around to the president's office. But John was going from suite to suite, and in Alabama, most of what's consumed in that stadium, that it's not liquor, no. Most of what's consumed that's not in miniatures in that stadium is bourbon and whiskey. So you can find whiskey and bourbon pretty much anywhere you want to look. Tell you what you can't find is a lot of vodka, and John was on the prowl. So needless to say, ran into John, ran into Kid Rock, and ran into Hank Williams Jr. as they quite literally, like college students going down the main strip, going from suite to suite. Hey, you got vodka? You do? Oh, it's Tito's? Can't have it. Next. All right, so I'm sure President Trump's suite did have a vodka that he could consume. I don't know, but they were having a lot of fun. It was just cool to see so many people enjoying the game.
So obviously you follow college football. Arkansas goes down to College Station, not College Station, Jerry's World rather, and another.
Might as well be College Station.
Might as well, yeah. I'm glad
gracious.
it's going to be that going on. So another frustrating loss.
Yeah.
One win in the last 11 years. What was your takeaway from watching that game?
It's frustrating. I did the game a couple years ago. That game is just, there's snake bit in that game. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, maybe the most heartbreaking play I ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes was the kick 6 in 2013. As a fan, that was the worst one I ever experienced. But I think from an Arkansas fan's perspective, the fumble return to the house 2 years ago, 97 yards out the gate, if he doesn't just go like this, they score. Instead, it's out the gate the other way, and that's kind of a microcosm for what that game's been. The thing that's infuriating about this team is that there are so many moments where you're like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, goodness gracious alive, what a play. I mean, the first touchdown of the game, I mean, that was one of the best plays I have ever seen by a college player. In the SEC, needless. You do it against Arkansas Pine Bluff, no disrespect. You can out-athlete those guys in some cases when you're 6'6", 230, but when you have guys that will play in the NFL and you split them somehow only to escape, roll to your left, and put a touch pass on the money to a receiver that's at full speed is ridiculous. To see that, and then to see the mistakes that are often made throughout the game too, that gives the team momentum, is just the most infuriating thing on earth. So I sympathize very much with Arkansas and their fans, but they're their own worst enemy, it seems like, this year at this point.
All right, so you have a game that you're leading in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You lose the game. Now you've got a murderer's row in Fayetteville of number 4 Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Texas. So what do you think this team can do? What do you think about where this team can go? What do you think about Sam Pittman now in year 5?
Here's the problem. Arkansas is not a team you want to play. Like, any of those guys, I guarantee you, Josh Heupel this week is sitting there thinking, oh boy. You know what I mean? Because anytime you have a quarterback that can elevate his play at that level, at times. Now, if we could just eliminate the mistakes, it'd be amazing. And the self-inflicted, and it'd be great too if we get a little pass pro. I mean, the protection is just mesmerizingly bad at times, but it is what it is. I think that you catch him on the wrong day, and all of a sudden he's on fire. They're going to beat somebody really good. I don't know what week that will come. It will happen this year. I would almost guarantee it. It will happen. It's just, will it happen against Tennessee? Will it happen against Texas? Will it happen against Missouri, who at that point might be playing for their playoff lives? They're going to get somebody. The problem is they also could get got by somebody that shouldn't get them. And that's, I think, what's really infuriating about watching them right now are the ebbs and flows and the ceiling where it's at. The ceiling's pretty high. It's just the floor's pretty low, too, because of the mistakes that have been made.
Obviously, you were a quarterback, played at a high level. What's your and we'll get to your history with Bobby Petrino here in a minute. But what's your assessment of Taylon Green? You've already mentioned the great play he made. That first, he ran through 3 guys that were all over him and through the great pass for the touchdown. And Bobby Petrino, what do you think? Do you see progression? Do you know what he did at Boise State? What do you think the future is for Taylon?
Well, first of all, I have so much respect for the type of offense that Bobby runs. I think it's a really difficult offense to defend. I think it's extremely quarterback friendly, and he's getting guys open. I mean, simple as that. You can make a throw, move it to your left for a touchdown, then you can miss a guy that's on a middle read where you throw it behind him, and he's splitting the safeties and it's a touchdown. I mean, that's a throw that costs 6 points. So with Taylon Green, I understand just because of how he can evade the rush, extend plays by time, create with his legs, break you down, and take it the distance from 80 yards out. I don't know if he'll have 96 and a 97-yard run in consecutive plays, but he has that capability. And I think Bobby is running his offense like he's running the past. And Bobby's offense, when you look back when they had Lamar, it's designed to beat zone coverage. And that's pretty much all you're always going to get when you have a quarterback like Taylon Green, because you don't want the defender's eyes on the wide receivers. When they're playing man coverage, eyes are on the wide receivers, and there's no eyes in the backfield, so the quarterback run kills man coverage. So you're designed to get zone, and we saw some man a little bit from time to time from Texas A&M. That was a little bit surprising and caught them by surprise some. But I think Taylon Green, the sky's the limit. It's just with a player like that, and I think back to Lamar's early development, he had some unbelievable moments, and then he had throws where you watch him throw it and he missed by 8 yards on a hitch. There are some moments with Jalen Milroe last year where, man, he'd make this incredible throw 30, 40 yards downfield, and then he'd one-hop it to a guy behind the line of scrimmage against Texas A&M in a 4-minute operation when you're trying to put the game on ice. There were just moments where you're like, what the heck was that? And Taylon has a little bit of that right now as well, but I think he's super gifted. And that's why it's a challenge, because and I know people are going to sit there and say, well, the next man up, he's been disappointing. They've lost multiple games. Let's play for next year and put the next guy in. I think he gives you a chance against everyone you play. But you're going to have to take the good in with the bad, and there will be some big misses because that's just the style of player he is.
For those of you that don't know, by the way, too, this week is the Hogs Plus is doing a really cool documentary. They're putting it, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, called Redemption. This is the 25th anniversary of Sterner DeLucas. 1999, remember 98, the fumble that gave Tennessee a chance to win the national championship. Arkansas comes back in Fayetteville and beats Tennessee. I think they were top 5, beats them by the same score. So stranger things have happened when you get in an environment where you've got national audience watching you. I sometimes, Greg, I don't know about you, but when I played, sometimes, if we were playing well, I didn't want an off week.
No.
So Tennessee's, although Tennessee has a good record, in off weeks, but you know what? All bets are off when you're home, national TV at night. There's enough talent there that maybe they could challenge Tennessee.
I think it's going to be look, I've said it before. I think playing at Arkansas is really hard. It's a really difficult place to play. At night, thank God we didn't play at night, because I don't want to know what would have been going on that night had we played there in 2010. It would have been a zoo. So all that being said, I think Tennessee's excellent. The thing that I don't like right now about the matchup for the Hogs is the offensive line of Arkansas against the defensive line of Tennessee. That's a huge problem. And don't worry, you're not the only ones. Nobody can block those guys in the first 4 weeks. So they're going to have to get really creative. Misdirection, move in the pocket, rollouts, nakeds, boots, jet sweeps, quarterback run game, screen game. All that stuff's going to be really important, because if those pass rushers get into a rhythm, it's over. And against Oklahoma, they got into a bit of a rhythm. So the biggest key, though, I think people look at Tennessee and assume offense. I think their offense is very much a work in progress. You got to stop the run. Arkansas is doing a bunch of movement stuff on the defensive line. The numbers haven't been great. It's a little bit of a hit or miss along the defensive front. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's average. Sometimes they get gashed. So I think against this group, that movement, you just got to hope you guess right on a few of those. And then you can't create you can't allow them to create big plays off play action. Tennessee's a handful there, but it really starts with blocking them, and that's going to be a huge challenge. But I think Bobby is smart enough to know we can't block these guys. We're going to have to get super creative with our looks, our rhythm, our cadence, and especially being at home is going to be massive because you can play with them as far as the snap count is concerned as well.
Talking about playing at home, Anita, if we can go to picture number 2. This is you, 2010. This was after the national championship year. I think this was the, I guess, the midfield as you were team captain there. I've heard you say that this game was the loudest stadium you had ever heard that you played in. So what I want to do, I want to play the clip. Now, those of you watching on streaming, because of copyright issues, we won't be able to, for you to be able to see it. But for those of you in the room, you will. It's Vernon Lundquist, CBS Sports. It was the second offensive play of the game. And Bobby Petrino called a wheel route to Ronnie Wingo. And I want you to listen to the level of the noise there by the fans. And then I think at the very end of this clip, it's only about a minute long, I think it shows you on the sideline. So if you can, Anita, let's take a look at that. All right, that's good. Good, Anita. That's good. So what do you remember about that? It's 50 seconds into the game.
Too much. Thinking, dang it, I really wish we would have won the coin toss. Because them starting on offense was not in our best interest that day. That was not a lot of fun, and you could just feel it coming. My dad was like, I had 3 people try to fight me at the bar last night. I was like, oh boy, they're ramped up for this one. So I remember it pretty vividly. My family was all there, tons of Arkansas friends out enjoying the experience. And I remember when we rolled up, and at Arkansas, we stayed pretty close to the airport. So, you know, that's what, 30, 40 minutes tops. I mean, it's not a far drive, but you have to drive through Springdale and down, you know, you got to go through a couple back roads. And we had a police escort from the hotel to the stadium, and we hit traffic in the police escort. How is that possible? You guys did that, all right? Somebody was on the take there, all right? And I think it was the state troopers, all right? No, we took a wrong turn, never been this way before. So I think half our defense was still stuck in traffic when that play was run. But you could just sense, you know, that like we had beaten them bad the year before. And it was one of those games where kind of everything that went right for us in 2009 went wrong for them. And just could sense that they had so many guys back, and I'd known Ryan for 6-7 years. I'm like, we got to pressure this guy because if you give him time, it's over. He's got as good of an arm as I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. When you're sitting there as a high school kid and you're watching 6'7" Ryan Mallett throw it and Matt Stafford throw next to him, and they're back and forth, you're like, I kind of lean towards Mallett. And you're also thinking, like, I need to get to the back of the line. I'll throw against Jevin Sneed and those guys. Like, I'm not throwing against these guys. Like, these guys are too good. All right? Where's Andy Dalton? I'll throw with him. All right? I'm like, we had a good group, man. That Texas crew in 2006 was legit. But But all joking aside, man, like I could just sense that was going to be a tough one. And it was our first road trip. A lot of young players along the offensive line, a lot of young players on defense. So you knew it was going to be a grind. And I played awful. Like the problem is I threw 9 career interceptions. 3 of them were in Reynolds Razorback. So I hate that place. But I also respect that place and have had a really good time on Dixon Street when I've gone back. So I like the town, but not the place, all right? But
yeah, it's funny. Your first interception of your career was against the Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Then you came back the next year, which sometimes happens against us. You set a personal record, I think 291 yards. It was a personal best for you. And so anyway, yeah, that was a big game for Razorback fans. I think that was the one time we thought we had a chance to beat Alabama, and we're leading late in that game, but obviously it could not get it done. Obviously,
I'm just lucky that there were a couple bad decisions made by Ryan that day because I love him, was a great friend, and I was one of those where like you want to play your friends at their best, right? And God rest his soul. I mean, Ryan and I had go back to when we were 16 years old and competing against each other and pushing each other, and he was always a guy. Mallet, M.A., McElroy, M.C. I always like, dang it, I really wish my name was like, started with a Z, so we didn't have to go right one after another. And we tricked them on a couple things with some bait coverages. Man, if we didn't get the short field a couple times, we had no shot. But Ryan was a great person, a great friend, and I'm just devastated by his passing. And now we've had teammates that have passed and have had friends that have passed at a young age. It's not something that's super uncommon, unfortunately, nowadays. But that one really hurt. And that one hurt that day because I didn't want it to be, I wanted us to make the play, not for them to make the mistake. You know what I mean? It's similar to playing Colt in the national championship. Like Colt getting hurt, Texas fans talk about it still to this day, but like I wanted to play Texas at their best. I didn't want their quarterback and my friend to get hurt 4 plays into the game. So it was a great game and one that went down to the wire, and I was very relieved to be graduating that year and not have to go back anytime soon.
By the way, Colt McCoy is coming to the Touchdown Club, and when I booked both of them the same year, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that you guys both played against each other in the national
Well, I'm just glad that you had me. I'm sure Tom Brady must have had some type of late scheduling conflict based on the people that y'all have. Like, goodness gracious. I mean,
next year for them.
I mean, golly.
You were recruited by Coach Shula, and you originally committed to Texas Tech.
Yes.
So you came in under Shula, and then you got to be a part. You had a chance to watch football history take place, and you had a chance to start football history by helping Nick Saban. If you give me shot number 4, Anita, I love this shot of you and Coach Saban. You got a chance to start something very special that's turned out to be one of the greatest runs in the history of college football. What was that transition like from Shula to Saban? And could you tell immediately, hey, this is going to be special, or is this something that took a little bit of time to realize?
Oh, what's like a really appropriate way of saying it was hell on earth for about 4 months. Because it was, to say that we went through a weeding out process when Coach got the job was putting it lightly. Look, it was at the time. So I'll just take you back. I was a backup quarterback until my senior year in high school. I've basically always been a backup. Even for my wife, I was the backup plan. So it's just, it's my whole life in a nutshell. Like, yeah, well, we didn't necessarily get who we wanted, but, this McElroy kid's fine. So I was going to Texas Tech, and they were recruiting Sam Bradford. Bradford ended up going to Oklahoma. Average career, fine player, not great. I end up committing to Texas Tech. At the time, I was I had never ever even played a high school game. I had 10 scholarship offers because people were coming to recruit the guy in front of me in Chase Daniel, who went on to Missouri and really average career there too. Fast forward to when I get to school and I sign up. Schools are between Alabama and North Carolina. Sitting there kind of evaluating the circumstances, and more offers came in, but at that point they had been kind of recruiting me for a bit. Tim Tebow who was going to Alabama, ultimately decided to stay home. Another average career. So I'm decided between Bama and North Carolina. And John Bunting is the coach at North Carolina. If you forgot his tenure, I can't imagine why. And Mike Shula is the coach at Alabama. Mike Shula's on the heels of a 10-2. John Bunting had been middling for a couple years, so I ultimately said, you know what? I want to know who my coach is going to be, so I'm going to go to Alabama because Mike Shula's job security, he's not going anywhere. Fast forward a few months later, and we're 6-6, and Mike Shula's out the door. And we had no coach for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. People were freaking out when Nick Saban shut down and we didn't have a coach for 52 hours. Imagine 6 weeks. And as a redshirt player that had never played a college snap, for those of y'all that are unfamiliar with my skill set, 97-yard touchdown runs were not in my arsenal. And Rich Rodriguez, for a moment, was kind of the favorite, expected to be the guy. So I'm sitting there like, oh, God, this is going to be brutal. Please, Feinbaum, find some dirt on this guy. Like, we can't have this guy. Like, we can't have him come and be the coach. Well, it was between him and Jim Grobe at Wake Forest. Y'all remember Jim Grobe? Jim Grobe didn't take the interview. Thank God. All right? Sure, Jim's a lovely person, but my goodness, that would have been a disaster. Fast forward, January 3rd, I'm at home as a typical freshman home on college vacation. We had just played in the Shreveport Independence Bowl, so I think we were all still somewhat hungover from the malt liquor we had snuck into the hotel room after that game against Oklahoma State where we couldn't stock the inside trap. Joe Kynes, another great moment there as the interim coach. My mom comes and wakes me up. You got Saban. You got Saban. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, he's coming. I'm like, what? He's going to be your coach. I'm like, how do you know? He goes, it's on SportsCenter. So I'm like, well, if it's on SportsCenter, on any news platform, it has to be true. Run downstairs, check it out. Sure enough, Wayne Huizinga's doing this press conference, and Nick Saban's no longer our coach, and he's on his way to Alabama. I remember meeting with him for the first time, and him basically saying, all right, hey, tell me about yourself. It was me and about 3 or 4 other guys. We're like, I'm Greg McElroy. I'm from Southlake, Texas. You were recruiting me for a little bit when you were at LSU, and he's just kind of looks at me like, sure I was, yeah. It's between you and Jamarcus Russell, Greg. We'll take Jamarcus, all right? Yeah, I bet you were. So fast forward, hey, it's going to be hard. You guys are going to be put through the ringer. We're going to challenge you in ways you've never been challenged before. How hard can it be? I went to Southlake. We ran 50-40s for our gasser test. This will be a breeze. Well, we went through the fourth quarter program, and standard protocol of the fourth quarter program is 2.5 weeks. At that point, guys start quitting. We did 6 that first year, and it was the hardest 6 weeks of my entire life from a physical endurance standpoint. Guys were walking out, and depending on how good they were, they didn't chase them. We did have a guy named DJ Hall that tried to walk out. We're like, no, DJ, wait on it. You go with the injured guys. You have a strained hamstring, right? Yeah. No, that's just a cramp, DJ. DJ's got a cramp, guys. He's going to miss the next 2 weeks. And we had guys dropping like flies. We get into the season, we go 6-2. We had just beaten Tennessee, and then we lose the last 4 games of the regular season because we were just dead. Nothing left in the tank. Our first conditioning test that summer, we showed up. 16 110s was our first conditioning test. But if you bent over or didn't make your time in June in Tuscaloosa, you added another one. We did 36 before the trainers were finally like, somebody's going to die. Like, we have to stop. So it was the hardest thing I ever went through, but you just knew it was going to be worth it. And sure enough, in 2008, we started to find the recipe, and in 2009, we ultimately won it. But Coach Saban is the best I've ever been around in creating consistency and performance. And he says it all the time. We're all clones of him at this point. When you talk about regimented and discipline, I've never been around someone that's more regimented and disciplined. If you want to know where he's going to be at 11:37 a.m. for the last 17 years, he can tell you exactly where he's going to be. And he I've never seen someone, this sum up kind of who he is. National championship, all right? We're playing Texas. We get out to a huge lead, okay? We go into the halftime, I think it's like 24-3. It's a lot. They had just thrown an inexplicable, we're sitting there thinking they're going to kneel on it, we'll be up 17-3 or whatever, we're in good shape. They threw an inexplicable shovel pass, which our 330-pound defensive tackle, Marcel Darius, intercepts, pirouettes down the sideline, takes it to the end zone, and punts it into the stands. One, he ripped Marcel in the locker room for throwing it into the stands and getting a 15-yard penalty. Two, we're all sitting there like, boys, we did it. 24-3, they can't score. This backup quarterback stinks. We got this thing locked up. Next thing you know, fast forward through the game, it's a game. It's 24-21. They had just hit Shipley on a couple big plays. And we're in a dogfight. We got to put a drive together. Ultimately, we do. We sack, fumble, go in, and we win the game 37-21. Well, we walk into the locker room, confetti in our hair. I'm holding the crystal ball. Of course, we were all 21 at this point, so we're figuring out how much and where are we going to go celebrate this thing. And Coach Saban comes in, calls the team up, says, guys, I'm really proud of what y'all have done. All right, this has been a commitment that's 3 years in the making, and you guys that are seniors, you've earned this, you deserve this, you restored the great legacy and the proud tradition of this program. But for those of you guys coming back, that's not the way we play in the second half, and we're going to get that figured out starting on Monday when we get back. I'm dead serious, y'all. He ripped us in the post-game coach's assessment. Ripped us. Meanwhile, it's in one ear, out the other. I couldn't be happier. I'm sitting there like Joe Burrow with a cigar. Like, I did not care. But there were some guys on that team that were scared to death that they were going to get chewed out in the post-game national championship game press conference. So that's the way it was, though, every day. So what? What's next? We won it? Cool. Who's on campus next week for recruiting? That's just the way he's wired.
Well, I did want to. I did see this quote. So what makes you special, according to Nick Saban? This is a quote from Nick. He said, "I don't know if I've ever been around a smarter player. Nothing phases him. The moment never gets too big for him. That calms down everyone around him. He was a big reason why we were able to go undefeated, and win the national championship." So is that a true assessment from Coach about you?
Are you sure ChatGPT didn't write that for him? That means a lot. I'd never actually heard that quote. You must have dug deep there, because I never knew that, because I didn't think he knew my name until he started working with us at SEC Media Days. I was 12 to him, but I got a name after touchdowns, and I got another name after interceptions, and the other name was a lot more interesting. We had a really, really good relationship, and look, he busts chops like there's no tomorrow. I mean, he is one of those guys, the harder he's ripping you, like in a friendly way, the more he loves you. And I got another story for you that I think kind of sums up who he is and how he messes with the player. We're playing Ole Miss. This is 2009. My first really hostile road game. We played Kentucky the week before, but Kentucky at that time really wasn't very good. They were good on defense, but that was pretty much it. So first really hostile road game against a legit foe. They were a top 20 team, Dexter McCluster, and a bunch of really good players. They had a defensive end named Greg Hardy. How many of y'all have read his rap sheet? Not a good player. Well, great player. We'll just leave the other things aside. But very intimidating player. Good thing I didn't know what he was like as a person, because it would scare me to death. But he was really, really intimidating off the edge and talked a lot of smack. I mean, he just chirp, 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 chirp. Like, you remember y'all seen the movie The Program? Yeah. He made the linebacker look very, very calm. So first big drop back at the game, I drop back, I can just feel him on the right side. I drop back a little bit too deep. Shouldn't have dropped back that deep. Poor Drew Davis, my right tackle's in a miserable position. I get rid of it, I get smoked, and I get hit hard. And I'm like, oh boy, if that's the type of game it's going to be today, we got problems. All right, so the whole game, I'm seeing ghosts. I mean, just totally seeing ghosts, dropping too deep in the pocket, taking off way too early. But finally, like, all right, Greg, settle down. We'll call. What do you want to call? I'm like, call boom. That's my favorite play. I feel really comfortable with that. I think with our condensed bunch formations, we'll slow down this edge rusher that's scaring me to death. Like, we're in good shape. So we call boom. It's a play where you have an out route by the outside receiver. So condensed formation, 2 stack receivers, 3-4 yards removed from the tackle. 2 stack receivers. The outside guys are running 5-yard outs. The inside guys are running corner routes. It's like smash, a smash concept for those of you that are familiar. So the read is low to high to low to check down. Pick a side, doesn't really matter. Well, on one side, I had Julio, so I knew what side I was picking. All right, pretty easy decision there. So we get in the red zone. It's probably the middle of the second quarter, going left to right. He calls boom. I'm like, perfect. I got Preston Dial in the flat over here. I got Julio on the corner. Preston's like 6'3", 260-pound fullback. Yeah, I think I'll try Julio. So just completely bypass the underneath, throw it into triple coverage. It's knocked away, nearly intercepted. And needless to say, I got an earful as I came back to the sideline. Why did you take the check down? He's wide open. Get it to Preston. He'll turn, and we'll just at least live to play another down. I said, got it, coach. I was saying, next time down there, probably quarter and a half later, we're going left to right again. Same end zone. This time it's boom, but it's to the right side. Marquise Mays is in the flat. Julio Jones on the corner again. Marquise Mays is 5'8". I got Julio as 6'4". I'm going to try it again. They got me last time. I'm going to get them this time. Well, sure enough, that corner drops back underneath it. Tight play. Julio almost makes it, but it's double covered. I could have just thrown it to the flat. Mays probably scores. Well, not great. We kind of let it go. We win the game. Come back, get a text message from an unknown. You never wanted that unknown text message. Coach wants to see you. Fine, Sunday. I can live with that. We'll go in, get my workout, and go see Coach. I go in there. I know exactly what's coming. Y'all have seen it. The clicker, he closes the door slowly. And I swear when you're in trouble, the door closes slower. You know what I mean? Like, when you were getting in there to get praised, it was like, but when it's not, it's like this slow. You just see your life flashing before your eyes. We go in, he puts the clays on. I know exactly what he's going to pull up. What'd you see here? Coach, I know I should have checked it down. It's on me. What about here? All right, I get it, Coach. Should have checked it down. It's on my fault. I'm trying to throw a touchdown. It's just getting greedy. He goes, all right. Yeah, he's up here. Yep. Next thing you know, I'm like, what was that? He'll be here in a second. Jeff Allen, our athletic trainer, walks upstairs. And Jeff is like, all right, come on, Greg. I'm like, trainer? Strange. We get downstairs, he pulls out the little inflatable balloon, which is something to check your balance. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is going on? And Jeff says, we have to check you for a concussion. Coach thinks there is absolutely no way you can make that decision twice and have a fully functional brain. Dead serious. So I say to Jeff, I'm like, can I pass but like barely pass? I don't want to like pass this thing with flying colors. He goes, we'll figure it out, you know. But that was Coach just busting your chops because you made a terrible decision and you didn't play well. Like, he's not going to rip you. He's going to kind of make light of the situation and build you back up. But that's kind of him, and he's the best, and I love him. I honestly, I'm amazed. No one has impacted my life more from an influential standpoint than Coach Saban, unknowingly too. Because God's honest truth, there were times when you were mad at him. You know, there were times when you're like, oh, I can't believe he's making us do this. And we as a team would kind of come together. Like, gosh, Coach is this is unreasonable. And at the same time, he always had a reason for why he was doing what he was doing. And to get you to the next level and to make you uncomfortable. And when you played well, you're getting ripped. And when you played poorly, you're getting loved up because he wanted to maintain that consistency. And the things that I learned in his program will be applied to the rest of my life. I mean, no one has influenced my life more outside of my father than Nick Saban. So I'm eternally grateful for having played for him and to have learned the lessons that I've learned in this program.
Last thing, NIL, transfer portal, you're not too far removed from that based on like when I played so long ago.
I would have made at least $3-4 grand. No doubt.
$3-4 grand, that's what you said.
Yeah.
So what's your
Ingram would have gotten a lot, but I would have.
Oh my gosh, you had some players who would have made a lot. So what's your thought on current status of NIL,
Yeah.
transfer portal, and where it goes from here.
How much time we have?
Yeah, let's say we only got a couple minutes.
Look, NIL, I'm glad the players are getting paid now. I mean, I think everybody is. I don't think it bothers everyone that's like, oh, this is no longer amateurism. It's like it never was. Like, let's just let the players get a head start. You know, let them have a chance to improve their socioeconomic situation, because for many of your teammates, they're going to graduate with no debt, which is amazing, because I had teammates that were walk-ons that graduated with a lot of college debt, and that was like a blessing. But the game has gotten too big. The salaries have gotten too inflated to not give players a piece of the pie. But I don't think anybody's comfortable with where we're at from a pay-for-play standpoint. The other thing that I really don't like this transparency. In the NFL, imagine having to negotiate a contract. If you're CeeDee Lamb and you're trying to negotiate a contract with your team and not knowing what Tyreek Hill is making. Like, imagine negotiating if you're Dak Prescott and having no clue what Joe Burrow just signed for. And what's real and what's not is really problematic. We need transparency across the board, and that, I think, will allow players to not be misled, but also allow the bad actors to be sorted out, because this situation with what happened at UNLV last week is really uncomfortable for a lot of people. A player was apparently misled based on the information that I've gathered. No promises were ever made. A player went in demanding changes to the circumstances because he never got what he thought he was going to get, because it was all just a gigantic miscommunication. UNLV comes out looking bad, the player comes out looking bad, the whole situation's a mess. Well, if we had to submit what every player is getting from the collective, that would allow us to at least know what the market is. Because right now there's no market. Everyone says, well, it's free market. Well, not really, because nobody really knows what they're getting, and nobody really knows because these agents are out there peddling inflated values in an effort to get players to make moves, because they make moves on the transaction. They're like a real estate attorney or a real estate agent. Like, they make money. Yeah, it's great to have the $5 million listing, but if I can have 10 $500,000 listings, that's great too. They make more money off transactions, and more and more and more. And the more times this guy hits the portal, the more he'll lever up, and the more I lever up, the more money I get. It's just, so they need more. I think there's a way to fix it. I don't know if it's the easiest things to implement, but here's what I would do. Number one, I think making everything, every payment, somewhat available to, I'm not saying necessarily to the public, but available, like, to other schools and other places would be really, really valuable. So transparency in the transaction would be valuable. Number two, we need to have a significant process that you have to go through if you are going to represent players. Because right now, in the NFL, to be a certified agent, you have to have a postgraduate degree and go through a course that is not easy to gain certification to represent players. And a lot of guys right now are just going into guys' DMs and saying, you're worth more, I can get you more at this place. And the guy's like, great, I'll enter the portal. And then there's nothing there for him on the other side. So we have a lot of bad actors in the representation space right now. So I think we need to do some type of certification training for those guys. Number three, we need it to become enforceable, like significant enforcement for tampering. Because everybody points fingers right now. Everybody points fingers, this school's tampering, that school's tampering. I'm just gonna tell you, everybody's tampering. Now, what you define tampering as, we might have different viewpoints of that, but everybody's tampering in a roundabout way. And we have to get that out of the game. And if we need to enforce that significantly with financial penalty, I think that's the only way to do it. Hey, you tamper as an assistant head coach, you don't get a show cause anymore, because that's going to affect you be able to do your job. But guess what? Hey, you're hit with a $500,000 fine. That's a big, big, big issue for some of these coaches. $1 million fine, what have you. And it needs to be enforceable at the conference level. Because we don't want these guys to miss postseason opportunities. We just want the coaches who are involved in this behavior to get hit financially, and we need to have some hurdles for them to kind of get over to avoid tampering. So those are 3 things I think can be done in the immediate. The last thing, I think we need to just really adjust the portal window. And we need to say, in my opinion, as an 18-year-old myself at one point, granted a million years ago, we are overly emotional sometimes after the season. I didn't play, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, and I have a tendency to rush to judgment. What if when Nick Saban, or what if when Mike Shula was fired, the portal opened up for 30 days like it does now? I would have gone on the portal and been out of there before Nick Saban ever was hired. And I would have missed out on the opportunity of a lifetime to play with what I think is the greatest coach in the history of the sport. Well, that could happen nowadays too. And unfortunately, with when the portal opens in December, guys are not always equipped to make the best decisions at that point because they can't see the bigger plan for what their career may be at that place. So I propose moving the portal window to May 1st to May 31st. No other time can you enter unless you are a graduate. And if you are a graduate, more power to you. You earn the right to have a little bit of autonomy. But we want to incentivize graduation. But if we move it to May, so you have to go through spring practice with your program that just experienced change, maybe you like your situation and you won't make as many bad decisions in May that you might make in December. And it would also put a premium back on high school recruiting because you would go and get the high school kid who can enroll in the mid-year and not try to backfill there in May. So those are the 4 things I would do in the immediate. I just don't think anyone's in a real hurry to do it because it's going to require some whistleblowing and no one wants to do that.
I told you he was prepared. Did I not? Is he not amazing? All right, so you can follow Greg McElroy and Kublik. Matter of fact, put it real quick before we get out of here. Picture number 6, Anita. This is your co-host, Cole Kublik, old office. Hey, listen, he never smiles. There he is, right there. Great guy, though. He's like you, well prepared.
He's fine.
He's well prepared.
He's okay.
He's
If y'all have him though, you're going to need to up the buffet if he comes by because I'm thinking that he needs at least one of those troughs of Easy Mac or whatever that was over there, or the hamburger helper that was delicious, I might add. He'll take one of those things down by himself. So
also, Always College Football Podcast. You do a great job. How many days a week do you do that?
Always College Football is 4 days a week.
Great stuff.
I think our episode for today went out. I taped it right here while you were going through all the sponsors. Yeah, so
touche. He's a comedian too. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for a rising star at ESPN, Greg McElroy, everybody.